Hey guys, Vol here. A couple of weekends ago I was at the Battlecry tournament. Haven't got around to doing any review on it, but I guess I may as well do that now. First game of the tournament was up against my opponent Matt, who incidentally has grudged me for round 1 of Ides of March, which is the bigger tournament coming up very soon. And we're both playing Kato for this one. I've actually got Epic Vlad and P. Irisk, and he had Epic Butcher and P. Irisk, and for this game I've gone E. Vlad and he's gone with Irisk, and it's the incursion scenario. What I felt was that if I could be aggressive enough with my army and actually bog the Colossal down with for a couple of turns with my Ulans and so forth, I might be able to dominate the flags and get a quick scenario victory. Looking at his list, if I ran the Chiesi, what would end up happening is that he would use covering fires and AoEs to blow them up, and I wouldn't really have much to kill his Colossal with, and it would be a slow game until he eventually beat me. And with the Vlad list, it's just a bit faster, a bit more aggressive, gives me the initiative tactically. So let's see how it turns out. This is the picture from after my first turn. And in his first turn is moving up here with the Iron Fangs. For some reason not shield walling them, for some reason not feeding with Irisk. He forgets to get a superiority up on the Conquest early on, and a bit of a tough first turn, but nothing that he can't recover from. He's also sort of in the next photo sort of got as his covering fires down, which won't really hurt me too badly, but in my following turn sending in the Ulans, which unfortunately thanks to the terrain can't really get in there and surround them, but at least putting a whole bunch of damage on them and getting the Arlans in a position where the Conquest can't just run past them and start contesting the zone. What I've done here is I've actually put Harlan in base-to-base with one flag and the Widowmakers on the left flank with the other flag, and just moved in to engage with the Doom Reavers. So hopefully he can't really get anything running around to start contesting my flags, and the Mortar's too slow and so forth. So we'll just see how he reacts here, and what he ends up doing is just trying to attrition it in the center and doesn't end up moving his Conquest around. So what I was able to do later on is just run Vlad into base-to-base with one of the flags and dominate to pick up the 5th point. So that worked very, very well. He could have been more aggressive with the Conquest, running it and ignoring my guys, but I guess it didn't turn out that way. So next opponent was Chris, who's was my biggest rival of the last year, and recently beat me at ValleyCon with his Crix. And Chris was running the Bart Galleon for this event, but chose not to take it against me. I took my Irisk list just in case he did take the Bart Galleon, but he's got Damiano and 3 units of guys with guns. So this game didn't go too well because he kept dead-eyeing his guys and I kept failing my 4+ tough rolls. Also forgot to give focus to my 2 jacks at the start of the turn, so that really set me back. But what ends up happening is obviously he moves in, can't take out the zone in the right because I've got my Devastator in there, but with the zone on the left, I've lost all my Chiesi because he's dead-eyed his guys, shot them all to bits. I didn't really pass many 4+ tough rolls at all. It's very unlucky, so I had to move up with Irisk and try and threaten him, but his Iris managed to shoot the focus off me and he just killed me. So I was in a bit of a hard situation this game, not the best matchup, wasn't really happy with my Irisk list after all that, after a bit of sort of theorying it behind the scenes, and terrible dice rolls with my tough rolls in general, so I couldn't really leverage much of an advantage in that situation. So, third game up against Dave with Epic Gatsby. Dave is a guy that I've always wanted to play in the tournament scene because, he got into War Machine a bit later than I did from the fantasy scene. I gave him a couple of games in friendly situations where he was still learning and I won, but he hadn't really mastered the game at that stage, and now he's going on to do very well at tournaments. Dave was very, very tired this game, so that's his excuse for taking a long time with his death clock. But what ends up happening is I'm drawn into a situation where there is a lot of terrain on the field in the sense that the houses restrict us to the centre, and there are these 2 large obstructions in the middle on either side of the zone, and the objectives themselves can't be moved through. So my plan here would have been to charge through his screen of troops with the islands and attack things in the rear like Dara, Tartarus, the Weather Shadow Combine. But I couldn't do that because if I stick the Ulans out front, they're too close to the enemy, and I can't get the Doom Reavers really up in the same place unless I pass an Abomination check, which I'm too scared to. So I've had to keep the islands in reserve, which makes it a bit of a harder game. what he ends up doing is he starts jamming me, and I feat and wipe out most of his army. He then moves in with his Blight Thralls. Bile Thralls takes out quite a lot of guys. I've actually protected Vlad with a line of islands and one of the Dracon's feet at that stage. So what he decides to do mid-game here is actually use the feat in attritional capacity to go and destroy a lot of my guys, which is okay with me because it leaves me with just Vlad, and Vlad gets an additional damage die against undead, so him against Tartarus at the end should be fine for Vlad to win. The scenario was sort of getting away from me at this point, though, because he can then go and dominate my objective or destroy it and take the middle, so I kept contesting in the centre. But Dave's time ran out because his feat turn took like 30 minutes, and I think that if he'd played a bit more carefully, if he wasn't playing under Deathclock, probably would have won. I mean, I had like half an hour left on my clock, if that's an indication of what this game was like, but it's not always an easy matchup against Gaspy. He's an extremely good caster. I preferred having my Epic Vlad list. I actually thought I had the better list overall, but I couldn't really execute the battle plan that I've been coming up with for this situation because of the terrain, so it would have been nice to have had a rematch here, actually. Next game, up against Nick Garden, who was running Trollblazer's got Gunbjorn. I ended up taking Irisk, thinking that what I could do was just go in there and mix up with the Assassins and hopefully get rid of Molg with the Behemoth, but, you know, it's quite hard to do that. So what happens mid-game is that I managed to kill all of his Nest Hunters with my Kiazi, and I've just protected my zone on the left with the Devastator while sitting in the Behemoth against his Axer and not even killing it. Bad dice rolls there for hitting, and I got sort of panicked in this game by sitting in the Behemoth against his Axer and sacrificing him against Molg, because he'd already done a lot of shooting against the Behemoth with his guns and had damaged him a fair bit, and I didn't have any mechanics, so I was just afraid that if I didn't commit him, I was just going to lose him to shooting. But I think that was a bit too paranoid, to be honest. I probably should have got the Behemoth in at least to destroy the battle engine, which it could have done. So the plan here is to try and actually score some points. I had a crack at killing his objective and killing the last few nests in the zone, but I couldn't quite get it. So it comes down to a situation, and it didn't take many photos, where you get to this one situation where it's a big attrition trade-off, but he's still got his battle group. I've got nothing but Irisk, and I had Iris in his zone at one point, and it came down to this really interesting situation where I've actually moved my objective to my own zone. This is the scenario we can move the objectives, and I've scored a couple of points already at this stage, and he's over there in his own zone. And after this photo was taken, you can see my Devastator's contesting his zone. What he decided to do was just attack the Devastator with Molg and not kill it, and then run Gunbjorn into the zone with Irisk, and run the Axe over next to the Devastator. And when that happened, I said to him, look, because you can't contest my zone, I score another point, then another one my turn, and I win, because I'd been on 3 up until this point. And we called it there and filled out the score sheets, and this player happened to be staying at my place for the tournament in town that night, and realised a few hours later, and I said to him, look, I actually think we did this wrong, because the scenario says the objective counts as a warcaster for the purposes of dominating and contesting. When you move Gunbjorn over to my zone in your turn, we both have warcasters in there, and the active player dominates, so your warcaster would have dominated, and my objective marker couldn't have contested it because it would have counted as a friendly warcaster. So what would have happened is that instead of me going to 4 points in his turn and then a 5th one in my turn, I would have stayed at 3, and he would have picked up 2, and I would have either had to kill Gunbjorn, camping maximum focus, transferring to Molg, or somehow getting rid of whatever was in his zone. So what would have had to have happened is that the Devastator would have had to have moved around, bulldozed Molg out, or thrown him out. Probably just bulldozed him given the situation here. And then Iris would have had to have moved around and pumped 2 power 13 shots into the Axa, which should have done it actually, because the Axa only had 10 health left after being mauled by the Behemoth. So it would have been a bit of a 50-50. Dice rolls would have been required, but I ended up taking the win because we didn't realise how to play the scenario correctly. Next photo, up against Josh, who's my homeboy that we practice against every single week. He's been a bit dirty by taking Epic Haley and Epic Kane, arguably the best casters in the Signar faction. Haley and Stormwall very powerful in 35 points, and just a nasty combination in the metagame in general. I've gone with Epic Vlad. Plan here is just to overwhelm him and just try and play a bit quicker than he does, either clock him out or get an assassination or win a scenario. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this on attrition. So my first turn is very aggressive, moving up like this, and coming down to a situation later on where he's trying to screen the Stormwall, keep it back a bit, but I'm attacking very aggressively, moving everything into to do half damage on the Stormwall, and feeding with the Doom Reavers and running them like 18 inches over to his lines to force command checks. And Vlad moves up and dominates the flag. So he's in a bit of a cramped situation where he can easily deal with my army, but it's going to take a couple of turns. And what ended up happening is I got my eliminators over to his flag, so I started scoring a lot of points very quickly, meaning that even though he feated and I'm not really getting damage done and he's just killing my guys in droves, he's not picking up the control points. And later on, what ends up happening is that he finally frees the Stormwall from the ring of Khador or troops nearby and moves over to kill the assassins, the Chiesi eliminators, and puts down a storm pod to help him do that. But if looking at this photo, if he had put his storm pod down next to my objective, he would have stopped me scoring in my own turn, and then it would have taken another turn for me to get that extra control point, and he would have had a whole turn to actually move the storm wall over and contest me, which might have actually still been a win for me, given that I had a Juggernaut still left up and running, but managed to outplay him here just on position and scenario, so quite happy that I managed to beat Haley Stormwall, which is a really hard thing to do. And next photo up against another guy also called Luke. Luke is my name in real life, for those of you who don't know. And Luke's playing Trolls here. I've gone with Irisk. Again, not happy with my Irisk list after all. The Chiesi Assassins just not that great in the meta at the moment. People are coming up with too many ways to destroy them. And it's the scenario where you've got a strip that you can dominate for 1 or try and get to their 1 for 3. So going through this, what ended up happening is that he made a big mistake earlier on, blocking in his Fenblade UA behind some troops, but it actually worked out for him because it meant that he wouldn't have been able to kill anything anyway, and it actually saved the life of the UA for a couple of turns. So in my responding turn, I'm feating, I'm trying to kill the Fenblades, which generally goes pretty well, and sending something over to actually contest his zone, picking up a point on my turn. But it turned out to be a very long game and full of attrition, where slowly I'm losing all of my assassins. I've killed all of his Fenblades, but it's got down to me just having a caster and a couple of jacks left, whereas he's got his smaller, lot of support solos, and he's picking up points every turn from his zone, and I've got nothing fast and speedy to get over to his area, and I've put Iris on the wrong side of the battlefield. So at one point, Iris gets charged by a lot of diggers under the feet, and he's camping Grim in his zone. Ended up getting 5 control points for him, because when I eventually got my Devastator over there, he just used a Genesis to tectonic shift him out. So pretty poorly played game by me. I felt it was unlucky on the tough rolls again, but there's more I could have done to win here. It was going to be a decent matchup, but again, not feeling Irisk, so I don't think I'll be taking him to a tournament again for quite a while. Final game, it's the rematch against Nick Garden, because this is the last round. We're playing for 3rd and 4th here, and Nick has once again gone for Gunbjorn, but I've done the correct choice and gone for Vlad. So aggressively moving up. His first turn sees some shooting, but my counter turn after this, turn 2, feating, wiping out the gun wagon so that it can't hurt me. I've got the Doom Reavers on the opposite side from the Nest Hunters, so they are safe. Chiesi Eliminators going to the Nest Hunters and killing half of them. He's nowhere near contesting either of the objectives, and it just comes to a situation where he's got to send Mulg in to deal with some of the guys in the zone. As soon as he does that, I send in the Doom Reavers and actually kill Mulg, the Axa, everything else, until it's just Gunbjorn left and I'm contesting the zone. So it actually turned out to be a pretty effortless win with this matchup. God knows why I didn't just take Vlad earlier last time I played him. I really thought that he was going to be playing his other caster, which is P... what's her face? The worst time, middle of the battle report, to forget the caster's name. P. Grizzle. Grizzle was his other caster with the Chronicler, and I absolutely loathe the Chronicler because I play combat armies, attack a guy, hit him, kill him, you get knocked down, so that's just a disaster for a list like Vlad with the Doom Reavers and so on, but probably could have managed it, to be honest. I've got the Draken there who's immune to knockdown, and if I get some kills and get knocked out, it's not too big a deal. I've got the Widowmakers to shoot some of the Fen Blades, so I probably would have been alright. But ended up coming third in this tournament, quite a small tournament. That's third out of maybe 12 players, so not a big deal. But the major event's coming up next, which is Ides of March. Not too sure which faction I'm going to be playing that, but it's going to be 42 points, and it's going to be a massive one. First round's going to be up against Matt, who was the guy I played first round of this event. Kador vs Kador. We'll see what factions crop up for this one, but tune in. There's going to be some bat reps hopefully next week for that. Catch you guys later.